Today on Nova Legends podcast, I have Heritage coach Ben Farquhar, who's Pride, I believe, Heritage Pride coach,
Yep.
um, won the first district title since 2017. Coach has done it with five sophomore starters. Incredibly exciting team to win the Dallas district. Coach, congratulations. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, yeah. So, well, Coach, let me give your background because you might be new to some of the people around Northern Virginia. You're a you were an assistant coach at Georgetown Day, also at Catholic University, the men's team, St. John's Fisher College. You coached both baseball and basketball at Sandy Springs Friends, which I believe is near Albany, Maryland.
Yep.
Yourself, you're a Franklin and Marshall graduate, 2012, and you also got a master's in coaching and athletic development. You're an executive recruiter for cyber coders. Did I get most of that correct, Coach?
Yeah, you nailed it. Yep.
Oh, great. Well, how'd you end up in Loudoun County?
Yeah, so kind of a long winding path. I grew up in Maryland in Montgomery County. And after graduating from F&M, I got into coaching right away. So I was a teacher at a private school in College Park. I was teaching 5th and 6th grade history and wanted to get into coaching. And I knew the athletic director over at Sandy Spring Friends pretty well. They had a JV head coach opening on the basketball team. So I jumped at the opportunity. I was at Sandy Spring for 3 seasons. I was doing basketball. I was doing JV head coach, varsity assistant, and then I was the same for the baseball team as well. So I was there for 3 years. And then actually my head coach from St. James got the head coaching job at a small Division III school called Cazenovia College up near Syracuse. So he knew I was looking to make the jump into college coaching, gave me an opportunity. So my wife and I just packed up our stuff and moved to Syracuse. So we were there was there for 1 season in an assistant role with them, and then got a really great opportunity at St. John Fisher to work with Rob Cornicker, who's won over 300 games at the Division III level. Was just a really great opportunity for me to learn about the game and how to recruit, and was surrounded by a lot of really good coaches on that staff. So was at St. John Fisher for 2 years. We won a lot of games. We went to the NCAA tournament. We won our conference. So those were some really exciting teams to be a part of. And then actually my wife got a job offer back down here in DC. And at that time, we had just had our first son, and we wanted to get closer to my parents just to have some family help with the little one. So I started firing out resumes, and Steve House over at Catholic was the first one to get back to me. So worked with him first season. Then I was at Georgetown Day for 2, and then got the job offer at Heritage and just jumped at the opportunity. So
Yeah. Coach, did you play basketball yourself?
I played in high school
Yeah.
at St. James. Was not good enough to play at Franklin and Marshall. When I was there, they made 3 Final Four runs under Glenn Robinson, who's another Division III legend. So just loved going to the games and watching them play, though.
Who's your high school coach who's at St. James?
It was Mike Brooks.
Okay. What'd you learn from him?
You know, it was fun because St. James is a boarding school. So not only was he my basketball coach, he was, my dorm parent. So, I got to spend a lot of time with Coach Brooks, and actually just talked to him on the phone last week. So, just really just relationships, how to build relationships with the guys, making sure that, it's not just about the stuff on the court, it's the stuff off the court as well. And just learning how to build trust like Coach did with me. So.
So, what did you know about Heritage when you first moved, when you first got the job? Now, my older kids went to Yorktown in Arlington, and then I moved out to Lansdowne last year. And I have a child at she's a young woman now at Riverside, and I didn't know anything about these schools when I was growing up. I went to Robinson and Fairfax. There were 4 schools in Loudoun County. There's Broad Run, Parkview, Loudoun Valley, and Loudoun County. And then Potomac Falls got built, and all hell broke loose. And now there's schools in every block. So, in a year and a half I've been here, all the schools they have very similar demographics, except for maybe Woodgrove and Loudoun Valley are a little more rural, and some of the schools closer to Herndon A little bit different dynamic, and even the southern part of the county is a little bit different demographic as well. But the schools are very similar.
Yeah.
What have you found? How is Heritage? What kind of kids go to Heritage, and how have you enjoyed it?
Yeah. So I knew nothing about Heritage before I started interviewing for the job. Just another one of those things. I saw the job pop up, fired a resume, and was lucky enough to interview well enough to get the job. The kids are great. I mean, it's just such a great group of kids. Really, from top to bottom, the entire school outside of our program. This is the first year where we've started to have a lot of student support. So we actually have a student session that comes to games, and
Yeah.
the chaos crew is starting to get behind us a little bit more, which has been great to see. And it's the kind of place where I get emails from teachers all the times about our players in a good sense, saying that they're stepping up in the classroom, they're making sure that things are going well in the hallways and in the cafeteria and things like that. So it's a really fun place to be. We have a couple of our coaches on staff that are in the building. So, we had that side covered because I'm not, on school grounds at all times. But from everything I've heard about the day-to-day basis and from what I've seen from our kids, it just seems like a great place to be.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed my time there. I like going to for some reason something about Heritage. I enjoy going to games there. I think I end up going to at least 4 or 5 um, there this year. And it's just a good environment. Has it helped that the girls team is doing so well?
We've been trying to catch the girls for years. I mean, my 4 years there, the girls I think have won. I'd have to go back and look, but they've always been the more successful team. And obviously, with what Taylor's doing this year, we're just trying to keep up with them, the amount of winning that they do. And I've been joking with her a little bit. They always practice before us. That I'll try to get there, 15 to 20 minutes early before our practice, just so I can see what she's doing and see if we can steal anything from her, because she's a fantastic coach. And during the interview process, which we were involved with as well, just hearing about her talk about the game and her strategy and the way that she approaches scouting reports and preparation and stuff. It was one of those things where, I wanted her to stay after and just drill her with questions for another 20, 30 minutes, because she's really on top of her stuff. So, but yeah, I think in terms of, the student participation and energy around the school, I think everybody's pretty excited about what the basketball teams are doing.
Tell Coach Taylor she's going to have to endure an interview with me one of these days. So I caught the tail end of whatever games. So when you got the job at Heritage, did you know exactly what kind of head coach you wanted to be? I mean, you had some head coaching experience. You've had a lot of high level assistant experience. Did you know exactly what you want to do, or do you still find yourself constantly evolving as a coach?
Yeah, I wasn't the kind of person that was going to come in and be like, hey, this is the offense we're going to run, this is the defense we're going to run, and we're going to do it depending on personnel. I've always felt like as a coach, you should make your decisions on how you want to approach the game based on your personnel. So I had ideas of what I had seen, and from the head coaches that I've worked with, at St. John Fisher, we were primarily a defensive team. At Catholic, we were a high-flying offensive team. So, I've been a part of a lot of different systems. So I had some stuff that I had in the back of my head of how I wanted to get to and things like that. But I really just wanted to meet the guys first and see what I was working with, prior to just setting a system or anything like that. So, and I would say, if you look at the way that we've played over the last 4 years, we've changed a lot. There's not a lot that we do now that we were doing my first 2 years, and obviously that's based on a lot of the talent that we have now. So,
Hmm. It's very interesting how you said that you just want to meet the guys first. Uh, I'm a soccer fan as well, and Liverpool. I don't know if you follow it all, but they hired a guy named Jurgen Klopp a while ago. He's been wildly successful. And when he first got there, everyone asked him, "Well, how come you haven't bought a bunch of players yet? Because you go to a team like Liverpool, you have a lot of money, you can buy anyone you want. I think the Red Sox guy owns them, I believe. But anyway, he's like, well, I want to meet the guys and see what I actually have first. And
yeah,
he actually took the players that he had and played with them, and he didn't try to change everything right away. Which so that reminded me of Klopp. And I respect that. Instead of going out there and kind of prejudging what's going to happen, maybe just be open minded and see what you have. Now, you took some lumps in the first 3 years. It's your fourth year, and this year, incredible turnaround. What did you learn while you were taking your lumps?
a lot. I mean, there were yeah, it was a tough couple years, but it was fun. You know, like even one of our seniors from my first year, Kyle Alt, was at the game on Friday night at Tuskegee, and he came down from the stands after he won. He gave me a big hug, and I mean, it's those sorts of things. You know, those teams were a lot of fun to coach, and we were in a tough spot just based on where our talent was compared to everybody else. But it says a lot about those first two senior classes that I had. I really believe that they laid the foundation for the success we're having now. They helped me become a better coach. They helped, our assistants become better coaches. They really helped a lot of the younger players learn how to play the game that I wanted to play. And, they sacrificed a lot, during those first 2 years. But I think the biggest thing that I learned was just trying to make sure that we get back to the fundamentals of this game is supposed to be fun. And biggest thing that we said the first 2 years was we're not going to judge our result based on the scoreboard. It's going to be about how are we playing. Are we starting to play better? Are we starting to do the little things like getting on the floor, limiting offensive rebounds, those things that start to add up. And I think they probably got tired of hearing of it. As we got into January and February, just the same thing over and over again. But they really bought in, and it was a lot of long nights of watching film and trying to figure out how we can approach different teams in this district. But it definitely helped me become a better coach for sure.
Well, Coach, I just happened to meet one of your team moms, April King, who's very opinionated, by the way. She is the mother, I believe, of Jordan Garland, one of your
Yeah.
all-district players, and she told me that some of these kids have been playing together since the third grade, which I thought was fascinating. Is that true? And if it is, what are some of the pluses and minuses of having such a tight-knit crew like that?
Yeah, so that sophomore class, those six kids, the five starters, and then Tyler Burns, they've been playing together on a travel team for a long time. So I think the pluses are, obviously they're familiar with each other, and you play together for that long, you're going to figure out which guy likes to cut in which spot, and where they want the ball and those sorts of things. I don't really have any minuses of it. I think the more time these guys spend together, the better. They play obviously with us all through the season, and then they were with us in a fall league, and then they play spring and summer together as a group, and really travel up and down the East Coast and play a pretty competitive travel league schedule. And then we have a couple other guys that play Nova 94 and LBA and things like that as well. So you can kind of see when guys in this district are playing with guys from this district, the style of play is really strong. And it the more basketball they play, the better. And if they're playing with each other, it's even better for us. So,
But when you have kids that are so tight and been playing together for so long, is it hard for other kids to fit in? So because they've been playing together and they could probably call an offense that you don't even know they've been playing together for so long, and then you have kids that that are zoned to Heritage and go there and good players too. Is it ever hard to fit those kids in?
I don't know that I would say it's hard for them to fit in. We've spent a lot of time over these last 2 years making sure that our locker room is strong. Because obviously when you come in with a group like that have been playing together for so long and know each other so well, and then we kind of add 6 or 7 other players to that, it can get a little choppy. And it was a little bit at the start of last year, because last year we really struggled. Last year to start the year, I don't think we won a game till January. I mean, we were 0-10, lost, to Yorktown by 30, South County by 30, Herndon. I mean, it was just a really rough start, and you could see maybe some division in the locker room just in terms of, not everybody getting along, which is going to happen when you lose games. But we spent a lot of time in the off season and, obviously parts of this season, just talking about, being together as a group. And we're not going to go at where we want to be if we have one side of the locker room acting one way and one side of the locker room acting the other. So we've spent a lot of time talking about that. One of my assistants, Tom Smith, had a great message to them on Friday night before the Tuskegee game, which was, we're in this fight together. Whether you're playing, whether you're not, whether you're on the bench, whether you're not, we got to be 11 strong, and we were on Friday. So.
Yeah. Well, within that core group, do you ever get a notion? A lot of times when you play with people for a long time, there's a pecking order established. This guy's the best. This guy's the best, and you don't move much within that pecking order. Is that ever an issue within that core group?
We haven't seen it. And again, I think we try to get them to buy into what we're trying to do. And I think it's why we've been successful is if you look at our stats, Mason Miller is our leading scorer. He's averaging 11 points a game. So Mason is at 11. Jordan and Liam, I think, are at 9. Dylan is right around 7. Tyler and Alex are 6. Bex Hetzel is around 5 or 4. So for me, I would think if you're scouting us, we're kind of a nightmare because if you're gonna take away Mason and Dylan, then that leaves Jordan and Alex and Liam with an opportunity to go to work. Bex Hetzel is a junior for us. He's a first year varsity player, comes off the bench. He's been battling an ankle injury for a long time, and I think now he's finally starting to get healthy. I mean, he single-handedly won us the game against Valley on Wednesday night. And I would imagine it's because he's so far down on the team scouting report. Nobody really knows very much about him. We started Ryan Conley, who's another junior for us, against Broad Run at their place, and he gave us 5 really good minutes, had 4 points, a bunch of rebounds, and again, I just think it's the kind of thing where we've tried to get them to understand that it's not about one person. You have to share the ball. You have to be willing to, if a team is going to shut you down, be willing to kind of pass the buck to somebody else and let them go to work. So they've really bought in this year, and I think you can see the result of that.
Oh yeah, they're playing great, Coach. You've done a tremendous job. Maybe the reason why they weren't ready for Bex is because they couldn't tell Bex and Tyler apart. That's
Yeah, yeah, it's funny the amount of actually even Jake when we played Broad Run the first time, we were just talking before the game, and he was asking if they were twins.
I thought they were twins too. I was sure they're twins.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But no,
I mean, their body, they're shaped the same. Their glasses, they even play similar. They're very similar. As I've
yeah,
gotten to know that, I've seen you guys at least 6, 7 times this year. Now I could tell them apart. But when I first said, I just assumed they're twins. Let's talk a little bit about your players. And I know I agree with your assessment that it's a very balanced team. I think it's fair to say you have one of the best young point guards in Northern Virginia. His vision is amongst the best vision that I've seen in the area this year. I understand he has an older brother who played at Tuskegee last year, and I saw them play. I don't remember that they're brothers, but anyway, tell us a little bit about your backcourt, Dylan Williams, and then Mason Miller, who exploded for a huge game against Tuskegee early in the year, which is probably kind of a statement win for you guys.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I've been saying for the last couple of months, I think Dylan is one of the best point guards in the state. He does things that make our coaching staff and myself look smarter than we are. I mean, he's always thinking a couple steps ahead. He sees cuts before they happen. We've been trying to tell him to be a little bit more aggressive offensively because he's so cognizant of making sure that everybody is involved and facilitating and making sure everybody's getting their touches and those sorts of things that at times it's almost a detriment to our offense how unselfish he is. So we've been trying to tell him to be a little bit more aggressive in that regard. He came over to me halfway through the Valley game on Wednesday and said, my offense isn't working, my shots aren't falling, I just want to focus on defense. And he just absolutely took away Conrad for the rest of that game and let Mason run the point and let us run our offenses through everybody else. And I think for a sophomore to have the wherewithal to come over and say that says a lot about him as a player. So he's been awesome to coach. I love the kid. He was a unanimous captain, unanimous MVP of the team. So he's really shown what he's capable of. Mason is just an elite scorer. He's really good defensively as well. A lot of times we have him on a team's second best player. He hasn't been shooting the ball as well as I think he wants to. His percentages are down compared to what I know he's looking for, but he still finds ways to affect the game without scoring the ball, which has been awesome to see. And I really think he's one of our better players at attacking the rim. He's so good at getting downhill and finishing around contact. So those two guys have been awesome to coach.
It was a great battle of underrated players against Valley because you had Mason against the kid Macklin or whatever his name is. Um, Sorry, Mac. But that kid is one of these kids. He's got so many technically good players on that Valley team, but this kid's everywhere. I mean, he's an incredible player. He just doesn't look as pretty as some of his teammates in terms of his technique. But I enjoyed watching him and Mason go at it because I thought both these kids are much better than probably people think. Well, let's talk about you have three, I would say, long players in that they long arms, slashers. They can do a little bit of everything. The different looking packages, but all very good players. Liam Rohn, sophomore. Jordan Garland, sophomore. Obviously, Alex Cox, sophomore. And it's funny. I never know what to expect. One day I'll look at them. I think one of them is much better than the other two. Then the next time I see it, I feel the exact opposite. I never know. I can never decide about these three. I know they're all going to be great players, though.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's you're like us. We don't know what to expect either. It's like we're going into a game and we have a plan, and we'll see who's hot when they're hot. But I think Jordan he's probably the most athletic kid that we have on the team. Just the amount of blocks that he's had this year. Obviously he's had a couple big dunks as well. He's just flying all over the place. And where he's made a big step in his game this year, especially the second half of the year, has been defensively. He's really started to guard. He took a couple charges against Valley in the semifinal game, which was a big step for him. He's so good at protecting the rim. With his length and ability to rebound and, really be physical with kids. Alex Cox is our most steady player, I would argue. There are games, I think he's played 5 games this year where he's played 30 minutes or more. I mean, he just never comes off the floor. He's really good at getting downhill. He's been playing better off of 2 feet, which is something that we've been working with him on. Just, we run a couple sets for him to get downhill, and he's been better at jump stopping and playing off of 2. And he's always guarding the opponent's best player as well. He did a really great job on Colin on Friday, and then, on Saturday as well when we played them at County. And then, Liam is probably the one who's matured the most out of that group. Just in terms of his body language and approach to the game and things like that. He's come such a long way. It's been really fun to see. He's been a consistent starter for us, but there are games where, like when we've been playing Tusky, we've been starting Tyler because of his length on Josh. So Liam has been coming off the bench, and when we talked to him before the game, he's all in. He doesn't care about the start. He cares about how we're going to win. So, for him to get the buzzer beater on Friday was awesome to see. It was his first points of the game, and he ends up winning the game for us. So
He has a kid that has got a little bit of baby fat on him. It looks like to me, in a couple of years, he's going to be a monster. But that's don't want to put too much don't want to put too much pressure on a kid. So what were some of the turning points this year when you've had kids that had a difficult record the year before, but they're getting older and they've had success in AAU or club or whatever, so they're going to be good this year. When was the moment when you knew you were going to be? This could be the year. Was it when you beat Atlee in the Christmas tournament? Atlee's a well-regarded team out of Richmond. When was the moment that you thought that this is the year you guys could compete?
Yeah, we had a really good fall league. We played at a fall league at the St. James. And I wanted to get out of the county and play some other schools because we see these schools all the time. There's a chance we're going to play Tusky, I think 6 times, this year. So I wanted to get out of the county and play some other schools. So we joined this fall league, and we actually ended up playing in the championship game. And so I was cautiously optimistic kind of going into the year. I thought, we were obviously going to have a better year than last year, but I was, excited to see where we were going to end up. The one game during the season was the Pot Falls game at home. Beating Potomac Falls and what, Coach Hawes has done over there is just incredible. And they're obviously, a super talented team, and they play hard, and, they guard. And, I think we ended up winning by 12 or 15. We just kind of held control of that game throughout the whole 4 quarters. So that was the one that really kind of raised my eyebrows. And then obviously the Atlee game was just incredible to see, and be a part of. 3rd game in 3 days, double overtime, buzzer beater win from Liam again, actually. And, we were down, I think we were down 12 in the 4th quarter, and we came back. And that was one where I think it was, the obvious turning point for us was I've been saying for months that we could play with anybody, and I wasn't sure if they believed me or not, but that was the one that I think, kind of solidified it.
Yeah. The Potomac Falls, that the Orbita Williams matchup was going to be a fun one to watch
Yep.
next couple of years. Two of my favorite young guards in the area. Um, so I would guess. But before I get to that, have people treated you differently you and the team differently now that you're winning this year? Do you feel like you walk around, people know you are, or do you feel like people are done kicking sand on you at the beach? Has it been a different mood now that you guys are kind of moving towards the top of the heap?
I think we're all walking around with our chests a little bit higher. I think I've gotten a little bit less of the little brother stuff, but yeah, it's been fun to be a part of that turnaround too. So
Yeah, yeah. So I bet one of the biggest games of your coaching career was the Loudon Valley game because one of the problems with our state our state basketball is horribly organized, and you alluded to this before. You end up playing the same teams over and over and over again, and because it's almost impossible to get eliminated in the way the way it's set up, and there's not really state tournaments. We have like six separate regional tournaments. There's like this not this down state that you're going to play. Most of the teams you're going to see, you're going to play over and over again, and then you finally maybe the state final play a brand new team.
right.
It's just the way we do it. There's really no excuse for it. But Loudon Valley was an elimination game. That was a big night. My guess, and I had to see that game. There was a lot of great games to see that night, but I wanted to see that game because I love elimination games. That's something different, and we don't have those in this. Every kid gets a trophy environment. We don't have elimination games, and so
Right.
whenever there is one, I always go. So, but I bet you that was one of the biggest nights of your coaching career.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I have a ton of respect for what, Chad has done for a long time over at Valley. He's a really great coach, and we spent a lot of time, walking through their stuff, and we obviously know their personnel really well. Our film session was short on them on Wednesday because it's, Tristan has actually been playing with a lot of those guys on that travel team, so they obviously know him well. The O'Connor kid as well is actually on that team, so they're all familiar with those two. And then the Rose kid, I mean, who just won Player of the Year, he just like exploded onto the scene. I don't really remember him from last year. So we knew they were going to be a tough matchup. And that Macklin kid is just an energizer bunny. I mean, he's all over the place. He is really a pain to play against. So yeah, I mean, we had a plan and we got off to a great start. I think we were up, 7 at the end of one, and then they went on this huge run where we couldn't score. We were missing everything, and we went on a big scoring drought. And then, Macklin hits that three right at the end of the first half, and we were down two going into halftime. And it just felt like a big shift for us because we had been playing so well. So we went into the locker room and just talked about, hey, this is playoff basketball. We're going to go on a run. They're going to go on a run. And it's just going to be about, who kind of stays true and handles the adversity the best. And then, we obviously went on that big run towards the end of the third quarter with Dylan having a couple steals and Bex having, I think Bex had 4 points in the third quarter towards the end of the stretch there. But yeah, that was a fun one for me, personally, just the 3 years that I've had at Heritage prior, to be able to be in that situation to win and then play in a district championship and, obviously get the seed to regionals and those sorts of things was really cool to be a part of.
Yeah, it's interesting that matchup. It surprised me in that I've seen Valley a few times. They struggle with you guys' quickness and your length, and I felt like they are much more of a dangerous team against other teams than they are against you guys. You guys match up extremely well against Loudon Valley, and they have these great scorers, but I think you guys individually can match up well with all of them. And I thought you guys did a great job on Rose, who I know works with my good friend Dustin Alenga a lot, and he's very proud of the kid. But I thought a big moment of that game was when Macklin got his third foul, and they took him out for a long period of time. And I thought that was a huge moment because it seemed like he was the one that was doing most of the creating for them in the first half for some reason. I thought that was a big moment. But I thought the most importantly, is I felt like you guys executed down the stretch and made your foul shots. You did all the things you need to do to win a game. And with a young team, you can't assume that's going to happen. And I thought the fact that you're able to do that, beat a really good team like that, an elimination game, really bodes well for your program.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've talked about that they need to learn how to win. You got to learn how to close out these games by making free throws, protecting the ball. When we're running our stall offense to just try to get some time off the clock, you got to be strong with the basketball, and the only way that you can learn how to do that is be in those situations. And you look back at Atlee, you look back at Woodgrove at their place. That was a tight game down the stretch. Pot Falls was close for a little bit there. Indy, our first game of the year, I think we ended up winning by 11, but it was close kind of throughout too. So they just had to learn how to win these games, and it's nothing we do. It's just them putting themselves in their situations where they have to make free throws and they have to guard and make sure we're not giving up a corner three, down three or something like that. So they've done a really fantastic job of that.
Yeah. Well, I also felt against Tuskegee in the district playback, great environment at Loudoun County on a Saturday. I felt like you guys didn't execute as well down the stretch that day, and I felt like that was a winnable game for you guys. But I also feel without seeing the game when you beat Tuskegee, that Beaton Valley may have helped you for the rematch. So I wasn't there. Tell us about the rematch with Tuskegee.
Yeah, I mean, I would even say losing to Tuskegee on Saturday helped us too. We talked in the locker room after the game that we executed everything that we needed to do. We did kind of stall down the stretch, and that was on me. They put in that 3-2 zone towards the end of the game, and we just struggled to find the right ways to get good looks. But at the end of the day, we end up with Dylan Williams with a three at the top of the key to send that game to overtime. So it was one of those things where we walked in, and obviously everybody was disappointed. We really wanted the one seed, but we talked about sometimes the ball just doesn't bounce your way. You can do everything that we ask you to do, and if that ball is a half inch to the left, we're playing in overtime, and I would take our chances, for that extra period. The game against Valley obviously helped us again, just in terms of closing it out. And then Friday, just defensively, we did a fantastic job. I mean, we held them to 14 points in the second half. We were down 3 going in at halftime. We did a really great job against Bird. We did a really great job against Josh. We held Chaz to limited points. That's been our calling card all year, is the defensive side of the ball. I mean, we struggle to score. Our shooting percentages are not great. There are times where we're really struggling to put the ball in the hoop. So we have to guard. And over the year, we've held district opponents to 45 points or less, which I think is a huge testament to how they guard on that end of the floor. And, for us to win 36-34 at Tuskegee on a buzzer beater, we never led. We were down the entire game. And then, the only time we were leading was when there were zeros on the clock. So it's a huge testament to how far they've come.
Yeah, it is. Congratulations again, Coach. I was at the McLean Marshall game, and incredible packed house. I can't tell you what an environment this was. But it was a 42-34 game. There were so many games in the 30s everywhere. And I think it's the tension,
Yeah.
without the shot clock. Do you think we're ready for a shot clock in high school
Yeah.
basketball, Coach?
Yes.
Yeah.
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 I've been saying this for years. Every year we get that survey from the Washington Post about what's the one thing you would want to change in Virginia, and every year I put shot clock. I just think we got to get with the times here. So
The scores are way down this year. And I think it was weird when I was watching the games the last several years. I felt like teams couldn't hold the ball if they wanted to, so maybe they didn't need a shot clock. But this
yeah,
year, I feel like teams are really able to hold the ball. And then what happens is the quarters get shortened, and by the time you realize we're not in a one-on-one anymore, because there is no one-on-one anymore, you try to foul real quickly so you can get some kind of clock control, and then the game is over. It's weird how these games rooms. Hopefully, we will see. Now you have a very intriguing matchup with a broad run team. You guys played already this year. Who won that game?
we lost by 7 at their place.
I would think that'd be oh yeah, I was there. I would think that would be a great matchup. It was a great matchup before. I felt like you guys played that game like it was a non-district game. I felt like you guys, no offense, coach, but I felt like you guys were kind of sleepwalking that night. It just didn't. I didn't feel the urgency that night. Did
Yeah.
I read that wrong?
Yeah. No. I think you nailed it.
Yeah.
I mean, we actually came out and I think we were leading at the end of one, but we were experimenting with some things and trying some things out before we. I think that was right before we went back and played Tuskegee Valley again. So we might have had our eyes on the following week as opposed to focusing on a really good broad run team. So
Yeah. So what are some of the keys? I like this broad run team a lot. One of the
yeah,
best outside shooting teams that you'll see.
yeah, yeah. I mean the keys are for us, without giving away my game plan to Jake, is they're so good offensively. I think they got a lot of guys that can score the ball really well. But I think one of the things that I've noticed with them is they're really good defensively too. They're really up on ball handlers. They got guys that really buy into guarding. So obviously, and then they run that little zone press with Ryan at the top, and I mean he's so long. It can give teams nightmares. So obviously for us, it's just going to be about limiting the shooters. That number 10 kid, I think his name is Colin something. He can really fire it. Brzezinski obviously can shoot the ball really well. Purdue is just a nightmare to guard.
His name is Jaden or Jalen something number 10. I can't remember.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's the one. He's the quickest shot I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's just
His
getting
his
out of
his form is textbook. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he's a really good player. So we got to make sure we limit him. Obviously, the Marshall kid, the lefty, big kid for them is a really good player too. So, I think again, it's easy to look at them as a really talented offensive team, but I think Jake has done a great job with them defensively too. So, I would like to think, that when we played them the first time, they shot 40 free throws. I think Purdue was like 10 of 10 in the fourth quarter or something. So we're hoping that maybe the refs will let us be a little bit more physical and, guard a little bit better, maybe steer into this playoff basketball type thing that we've been getting away with. So, that I think that's kind of our game plan is to obviously just try to keep this game in the 30s and 40s and hope it doesn't get up to the 60s and 70s.
And with Coach Jake and Coach Ben, you have two coaches that are always give a positive critique of the officials during the game. You guys are always willing to offer positive feedback to the officials, which I know they find very helpful.
Yeah, no, I would say that, some of those guys are my best friends. So, no, it's funny. Jake and I always talk about that. Yeah, I've noticed with him, he's calmed down a lot.
He's come down a lot. Last year he wanted every call. This
Yeah.
year I interviewed him. I don't know if you saw it, but I'm like, Coach, what's going on with you, man? You're not getting into the officials anymore.
Yeah. Well, he told me it was his New Year's resolution to take it easy on the officials. But no, I mean, I think he does a really great job over there too. So we're excited for Tuesday.
Yeah, yeah. I do want to say that I give you guys a hard time, but I was worse than both you guys. So in my coaching and playing and certainly sports parent days, I was worse than both you guys, and maybe even combined. Is that game at Broad Run, or is that okay? That's
Yeah.
gonna be it. That's gonna be a crazy environment because they bring a big student body and it's a small gym. Are you gonna be able to get some heritage people over there?
I hope so. I mean, they showed out on Friday. I mean, we had a great student section for the Tuskegee game. So we're hoping to get some support. I mean, yeah, again, that gym is tough to play in. I mean, those stands are right on top of you on the backside of the bench, and I know that they're going to have a lot of student support. So hopefully we'll get the same. Now the issue is because the girls are so good. The girls are hosting a region game too. So our students are going to have to decide, who's coming to which one. But hopefully we'll get enough. So
Yeah, hopefully you guys can divide and conquer from your
yeah,
point of view. So, Coach, I'm not going to ask you to look ahead past this game, but I would like to know when you have a young team like that, is there ever a sense is that you want them to think the future is now? Like, look, we know we're going to be really good next year. We're going to be incredibly good in 2 years, but we're here now. We're one game away from, I believe, one game away from state title tournament, right, Coach?
yeah,
Is there ever a notion, guys, the future's now? We're going to win today. Who cares about tomorrow?
yeah. I mean, I've always tried to say, you got to be present where your feet are. You got to take advantage of an opportunity. Like, who knows what happens next year? You can't just assume that because we're good this year, we're going to be good next year. Especially in this county, things change pretty quickly. So, you got to make sure to take advantage of an opportunity like this when it's given to you. And, we feel like it's going to be a really great matchup on Tuesday. And, if we can just get past Broad Run. And then again, we're in a situation where it's not an elimination game on Thursday, and we get the bid to states. So we're really excited, and just trying to not look too far ahead because things change pretty quick. So
Yeah. Well, Coach, I want to congratulate you on a tremendous season. What you did is unreal to turn a program around like this. I will say you're always very complimentary about my social media. That's something a lot of coaches don't understand. A lot of parents and coaches, when you work, and it's coaching is a thankless job, but when you do social media, it's thankless as well. So people expect you to do whatever it is to give their people exposure. So when you have a coach or a parent, or whatever, who thanks you, it does not go unnoticed. That means your players should know that you're looking out for their best interest, and the parents should know that as well. And I'm telling you, it's rare in this game, so you should. I want to thank you for that. It's appreciated. But anyway, best of luck. I'm going to try to get there. There's so many great options on Tuesday, and there are some teams I haven't covered this year, but that's going to be a tough one to pass up. So I may very well see you Tuesday, but if not, I'll probably be seeing you or Jake, Coach Jake, sometime soon. I want to wish both of you the best of luck.
yeah, no, thanks. I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks, Julian.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Coach. I'll talk to you later.